Welcome. It is 7:35, and y'all know what time it is. It is Crystal Gresham Giles or Crystal Demore Giles coming straight from the chair. I have my amazing guest from last week, Dr. Shatavia Thomas. Y'all, I have messed up her name like 15 times today because, as friends, you know them as we grew up. A lot of people still call me Gresham because that's who they know me as. So, today we're going to kind of do part two of our episode last week. We kind of dealt with the friends relationship, and now we're going to touch on the family relationship. Um, but let me say this. We were talking about how we honor each other as a friend. So can I be a little transparent?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Shatavia hasn't really been out during the pandemic. And I was trying to have a live audience to try to open that space and show her, it's safe to come out, it's okay, But I noticed that she was still kind of hesitant. So we had a couple of text messages back and forth. And I was like, honestly, we can do it the way I want to do it because actually it's ran by. So however it's going to make you feel comfortable. So I didn't do a lot of promoting on having a live audience. And I think she really appreciated that we'll be able to have this conversation face to face this time.
Absolutely.
Because we've gone out together. But for me to make her comfortable, I was like, I'm not going to really kind of promote y'all coming in, do an Eventbrite and all of that because I really wanted her to come out to the show and do a live event. So how did that make you feel?
Wonderful. And just like we were talking about last week in terms of honoring friendships and boundaries, it was a great way to kind of meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Because last time I was at home,
It was.
I think I was more comfortable with being here because it wasn't going to be a room full of people. And I think the lesson in that is you don't have to make the same decisions, but you can find a way to kind of honor each other in a way that sustains the friendship and the connection and has to do with like respect, really.
Yeah. Just finding a balance in friendships. Like you may not like what someone else like, but there's a middle ground for that. And honoring her feelings. That was the biggest thing. And I think she was trying to compromise and honor mine as well of having the show. So I think this is a perfect balance.
Yes.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too. Am I supposed to get out the chair?
So today
I don't have no tea to sip.
it's about family. Oh yeah, girl, we forgot our tea to sip. We were supposed to sip some. Y'all, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. We're gonna have to get a little something in there. Hold on, the producer behind the scene. I think he's gonna go to the little stash and get us a little something. You want sparkling water?
Yes, I
You
am.
bring it.
See, when your friend know you.
The sparkling wine that's in my office over to the right. Yes. See, listen, this is live. And the crazy part is, y'all, we've been sitting here for about 15, 20 minutes talking about the show, chit-chatting, so we can really talk. But today is about family, cultivating that relationship and having boundaries. And I seen a TikTok or reel or whatever, and it said, blood does not make you family. It makes you related. Family is loyalty, honest, and trust.
That's deep. Whew.
I was like, whew.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, no. It's, Kentrell. Shay, talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm going to step away 1 second.
That's deep because it reminds me of one of the quotes that we brought up last week. Friends are the family you choose. And, in this day and age, many people have chosen families. Some have that in addition to their blood family, but that quote certainly makes sense. And when she comes back, we'll talk about some of the principles because there are some characteristics of healthy families that kind of are in line with that particular quote. But I know some of y'all know what that means in terms of feeling like maybe at some point you had more trust and respect and loyalty from a non-blood relative. So we're gonna get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, because
It's
I
the
think
cat.
hmm,
What is it?
sparkling cherry.
Oh,
So I know my friend doesn't drink like I drink. She
just
has.
a little. I'm not gonna even front on here like I don't drink. I
Now I
do
was going
drink.
to say she does drink,
Wait.
but listen, we're gonna do sparkling cherry
Yes,
today.
yes.
So this is I don't even know what that is, but it's like a sparkling cherry. I have it here in the salon for my clients who are non-drinkers, but like a little toasty. So
Yes.
to today, to family
Oh,
and friends.
yes, to family and friends.
But I think a lot of times we were talking about,
That quote.
yes, the quote and how family, how sometimes you feel like you can't go to your family and talk about things. So you go outside of your family. But why is that? So you sent me something I was reading and it says family should communicate very well.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the qualities of characteristics of healthy families is that they have frequent, open communication. Now that can mean a whole lot of things, but in the spirit of healthy families versus what it actually is for some people.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree that it probably is definitely healthy to have those conversations. You know, me, y'all know I'm the most transparent person it is, and my friend is gonna help me stay in the lane.
If I
Um,
say skirt, that
yes.
means we're a little stepping.
So my son even told me, he was like, just recently we had a real grown person conversation, and he said, Mom, I just felt like I couldn't talk to you. And, I was taken aback because I think I'm like the most open minded person. But I also realized that I'm a mother. And being a mother, because you put so many of your expectations on your child, that all they ever see is you telling them what to do and not you guiding them. You're always telling them what to do and not you guiding them. So I realized that over time, I wasn't guiding him, I was just lecturing him. And that's probably what he was feeling. Hold on a second. What's going on with this screen?
Is that the internet connection or is
It's blinking. Hold on, y'all. Can y'all see me? Is it still live on IG? Okay. All right. Okay. So we're back. I just wanted to make sure the screen was jumping for some reason, so I just wanted to make sure. But it made me feel like he said to me that I was lecturing him as opposed to guiding him, and it was crazy at church today. Not crazy, but it was coincidental. At church today, our pastor talked about mental health in the church, and he said, if some of you all would just, and he said it just like this, shut the hell up and listen to your kids.
Yes.
And I realized that's what I had to do. And when I did that with Cameron, it allowed him to be him.
I think that's a good point because I think it's generational too. Like, you know how we were raised.
Yes.
And if you come from that tradition of children are to be seen and not heard and don't talk back to me and all that kind of stuff, you learn to be more reserved in opening up. And I'm going through that now, because we have a 11 going on 12-year-old. And I can tell and while on the one hand, we're raising him to be vocal and opinionated and open, I still have a lot of that old school parenting in me. And so it's like, what you say? But then
Right.
he's like, I mean, do you want me to say what I think or not?
Right.
And so as a parent, I have to learn that. But also in my marriage, you have to learn how to, one, figure out, is it the appropriate time to have open communication? And then what kind of words you finna say? Because nobody is gonna be prone to listening if it's a lot of blaming and pointing a finger and neck rolling and all these other kinds of communication challenges that we can get into a little bit later.
Big ups to my older brother. Now, I don't know who may see his words different, but it was one thing he taught me. He said, Chris, when you're going into a conversation with somebody, do never start with you shoulda, you coulda, you, because that instantly puts up a protection from that person because
Yep.
you're coming to attack.
Yep.
You're coming to show that person about themselves. You have to address yourself.
Yeah.
I felt like, because only thing that you can change and control is yourself.
Yeah, and that's a strategy. And for those of you who are in therapy or counseling, it may sound familiar. One of the communication skills that we teach is iMessages,
Mm,
and it's designed that way. And a lot of people think it's corny, but guess what? It works.
it works.
It works, and it makes people hear things in a different way. So when you say, "I feel blank," when and don't follow that with when you, it's when something happens and then you follow it up with a request that minimizes the defense,
It does.
because if you get to look in a certain way and your tone is a certain way, your body language is a certain way, the words are not going to be received. And so yes, we're talking about boundaries and cultivating healthy relationships with family, but sometimes it's not just about what family is doing to us. It's how are we engaging with one another. And sometimes we gotta, check ourselves or have somebody um, be receptive when somebody brings something to our attention. I think that's the hardest. The
Yeah.
hardest.
I think that's one of the biggest thing is this is when I say you really are maturing and growing. When you can accept when people say, you know, you bossy as hell.
Mm-hmm.
You want to control every relationship, and if it doesn't go your way, then you got a whole attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, who, me? This was told to me. So I'm like, I'm not bossy. But then I heard it like this many more times.
Yeah.
I saw it over my life. I saw it in high school. I saw it when I was in the military. I
Mm.
saw it like in the family. I saw it in my marriage. I saw it in my business.
Mm.
So once I recognized what it was, I was able to look at myself and say, oh, you do like control. You do try to control it all. You really want people to think just like you and ain't no other way. Well, I didn't think God made other people. No, just teasing.
And then on my end, and I'll say this, because we are friends and we bring out the keep it real out of each
Yes,
other. This is more a mixture of professional and personal.
yes.
I think for me, and for those of you who have a similar personality, if people are always used to you being the positive one and the forgiving one, what you do over time is you start biting your tongue,
Mhm.
and it can get to a point where that's not healthy. And so learning how to, and my cousin sent me this Bible quote and highlighted it and everything. You have to learn how to speak the truth in love at times, and that doesn't always mean you have to sound nice. I love that about my grandmother. She was the sweetest and most accommodating, but she'll get with you real quick,
Okay.
and baby, but then check you at the same time. And so I have had to learn that, yes, I'm a therapist, yes, I'm quiet, yes, I'm nice most of the time,
Mhm.
but I have some things to say and I don't always agree, and it's okay to say that. And I don't have to have this persona like, the world is peaches and cream all the time. And,
Right, right. And I mean, we've experienced that before, so I know
Yes,
exactly.
you do. Yes,
That
you do.
that's like she said. That's the good thing about having different levels of friends, and like you get to choose these friends.
Mhm.
These are relationships you get to choose. Like we even chose to come back as friends. If y'all didn't listen last week, we talked about when we had a bumpy road in our friendship, but we chose to cultivate this relationship again and make it what it is today. And we are probably that end of the spectrum to this end of the spectrum when it comes to personalities. But like, I know I can pick up the phone and she's there, and vice versa. Like, we have definitely been there for each other. But
And the question I get is, why is it so hard to do that with families? And it's a
yeah,
whole bunch of reasons, but one is just because there's so many dynamics and layers and rules that are different. Um, and with family, again, there's the generational thing you
you
have to think
supposedly,
about.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
There's the openness to kind of knowing, like, family really know how to push your buttons. And they got all the stories, and I tell people sometimes family can be the wind beneath your wings, or that lightning strike that,
That will knock it down.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, I mean,
in a way that's different from friends, because we
yeah,
do have this expectation about loyalty, trust, and
yeah,
you
and
know
it's like, I guess you get to a point, and this is huge in family. Oh, they just gonna be who they are. And how do you start creating a relationship or pulling back
Hmm.
from, oh, they're just gonna be who they are? And what I learned in therapy is I have to adjust my reaction towards them.
Yes, systemic.
Yes, because I'm still, regardless, I've learned how to control wanting to be the boss of everything and being bossy.
Hmm.
But I still don't like the fact I like control. So if I know that your energy can control my emotions or my feelings, oh, you won't see me a lot.
Yep.
You won't see me a lot because I'm still wanting control of my space. So
Hmm.
because I get to control my space, and I know that your energy makes me shift, or you might just be this negative person all the time, or you just want to talk about everybody in the family, or it's just drama. Like, I love my family to death. We have a ball, but it's sometimes like that stuff gets draining, and I'm like, yo, is it helping you better yourself?
Hmm.
Is it helping you get to another level sitting around talking about people? Like, that's where I am. Like, but I know I can pick up the phone and call my girl, and she's gonna give me that. So that's where is I really can't talk to my family about
Hmm.
it. Like, um, even being an entrepreneur in my family, if I really think about my mother's, it's 8 of them. My dad is 7 of them. Nobody's an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
Now I'm
So it's
sitting
a
here
different
like,
frame of reference.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
not, no knock on nobody's job. Like, I believe everybody is hard working, but nobody knows that pressure that sits on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And they look at it as, oh my God, you this and you're doing that, and I'm so proud. And I appreciate y'all. I really do appreciate all my family. But it takes me to talk to my homegirl who owns her own State Farm agency, Shay, who has her own practice. It takes me to talk to my friends who are in those levels that the pastor said today, who are bleeding as leaders,
Mm.
bleeding as leaders.
Mm.
And I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head. Like, that's how we feel sometimes. And when people used to say, oh, it's lonely at the top, I used to be like, oh, that's because they stuck up there at the top. No, what that actually meant is it's only a few that you will be able to communicate, that people will look at you and say, but you good though. But you all right though. Oh, but look what you doing though. But look what you got. You look at your business. You doing this, but nobody understands everything that goes on,
Yeah.
the mental that goes on.
I think about that when you see different interviews with successful people, and they
Mm-hmm.
talk about how people assume that they're overnight success, but they don't know. You wasn't shooting with me in the gym. I know that's
Right.
a, but people who think that they're looking at it now and just thinking it's all gravy. I think also sometimes the difficulty with families is, if you don't fit in this family box with a nice little bow, then it's like you're not being loyal or you're a threat. And one of the things, especially as it relates to challenges in therapy that and personal too, is that people struggle to be different while remaining a certain connection and closeness. And what ends up happening is people get cut off because it's like, I can't be you. I mean, I can't be me around you because you have this expectation of me. One of my favorite quotes from one of the pioneers in family therapy is, "Don't let other people's limited perceptions of you define yourself."
Listen, I'm glad you touched on that because that is dear to me. Is one of the main reasons that I am who I am and what I do, because I was that child that did the opposite of what everybody told me to do. I didn't like being put in a box. I was that child. And I remember I had an aunt, and I love you, Auntie. And she told me that doing hair was not a career, that I needed to try to be a school teacher or a nurse or something on that level. And I had another aunt told me that when I had my salon in my home, I had my salon in my home for 5 years, that I would always be a basement hoe.
Oh,
Yeah. Sips tea.
that's okay.
So, um, with that, it wasn't so much I felt them as haters or people that were against me. I felt that they were in their own box, in their own mind.
Yes.
And I realized that what I had in me, it was unstoppable. So no, I didn't stay in the basement, but I still got a garage door at my business.
Yeah.
So it was motivation for me to go after some stuff. Even in the family, like I was the kid who me and my mom, we lived with my grandparents. So we wasn't the ones that had our own home and the father and the mother come home. I didn't have that growing up. Oh, here we go.
It's okay. You should have had
Some tissue.
some tissue. That's okay.
Yeah. So I didn't have that growing up. So when I would look at your household and I would go to my friend's household and they had, both parents in the house, and I kept looking like, dang, we live with my grandmama. Like those were the things. And this is just being transparent. This is no hate on nobody in my family. But I remember my cousin used to bring me her clothes to pick in, and she would literally pick what I could pick. Like she wouldn't let me get the stuff that was real cute. She was like, I'm giving that to somebody else or something. So I was like always like the leftover, kind of leftover.
But let me tell you the beauty in that. The beauty in that is that when I would visit your house and similar friends, I would appreciate I don't know, the variety
Yeah.
and the openness and the comfort level, instead of feeling like you had to be a certain way, present a certain way, uphold a certain image. And it was so freeing. And I think that's an interesting thing to think about. Like in your friendships, what about your family relationships draws you to a certain friend?
So we talked about that earlier today. Coming to my grandmother's house, coming to our house, y'all, the living room was my grandmother's bedroom. We, you only use the living room for special holidays. Like really. And I'm not talking about the living room with the plastic. I'm talking about your everyday living room that people sit in. The den, what everybody sits in, was my grandmother's bedroom. So Shay would come over. I'm like, come on, Shay, get up in the bed with me and my grandma. And she like, and we hopping in the bed with my grandma. And at first people are like, come in your grandmama room. People are online today. They would tell you, like, coming into my grandmother's room was like, she didn't mind, baby, scoot over. You sit right here beside me. We were like the most open. And I'm probably gonna go too far, like wearing whatever. You might have to say, put a t-shirt on, somebody coming in the house. I'd be like, man, I ain't studying them folks. Right. That's how open we were in our family. And I get it, because when I would go around Shay's house, I was, it's like, okay, let me see how I'm supposed to act, because I have to say yes, ma'am. We say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, but I didn't know the limits of how far we can go.
Yeah.
Can I come to the basement?
Yeah.
It was those dynamics that you had to look at in the different households. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess so. And we had a lot of people at our house all the time.
Yeah.
We kept people, like, my uncle was at our house. Two of my uncles, my uncle and my great uncle, he would kill me to this day if he was still alive. If I called him my great uncle Calvin, he'd be like, "Do you have to say that all the time?" But yeah, like, and it's crazy how you look at it as,
oh, this is so freeing. It's so relaxed and comfortable over here.
and I'm
And not
looking
that
at,
my family houses wasn't comfortable. It was a different. It was more openness and more relaxed.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. We laid on the floor, and we ate in any room. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't matter. You, like, Shape, like, can I bring this in here? Girl,
What
yeah.
you
Like,
asking for?
what you asking? We going in the bedroom and laying in the bed and
Right.
eating some cereal and
Right.
popcorn. Like, we
Yeah.
didn't have that dynamic where you had to stay at the kitchen table. That, like, and I thought I was missing out on the dinners at the kitchen table. I don't ever remember, like, let me think. Nope. I don't ever remember eating dinner, like, at a kitchen table, unless it was Thanksgiving or a big holiday. Because, for one, my mom worked; she was a nurse, and her shift was from 3 to 11. So when I would come home from school, she's already gone. And my grandfather, y'all, of all people, wonder why I don't cook, because I didn't have that grandmother who, come on, baby, let me show you. My grandmama laid in the bed. My grandfather cooked. I used to lick the icing, the bowl from when he made cakes and spoons and stuff. But my grandfather did that. He had a garden in the back. Okay, for everybody who want to know, yes, we had a garden and chickens and stuff on Bankhead. Yes, we were you remember that rooster we had?
Yeah.
We had a lot, y'all. We had a rooster on Bankhead Highway, and he was a hood rooster.
Yeah. So it's not just spaceships on Bankhead.
No, it's roosters on Bankhead.
Inside Bankhead.
And his feathers were so matted together that they hung over in front of his eyes like dreadlocks. So we called him Bob Marley. You forgot about our rooster? How you gonna forget about the rooster? Because the rooster was so hood that the rooster didn't crow till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, this rooster did not know nothing about 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
You come down the street about 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon, he's like, I'm like, is that a damn rooster? I'm like, yes, it was a rooster. Don't laugh. But so it was hard kind of dating when people would come by and the daggone rooster was in there. But listen, that was my family. That's how we were. But the other thing about my family that I really, really, truly appreciate is that they exposed us.
Yes.
We were exposed to outside of 285. Now, if for those who don't know, in Atlanta, there's a perimeter that's called 285. Anything inside of 285 is Atlanta. That's where a lot of people who I grew up with didn't know anything outside of 285 for a long time. Like, the buses didn't go that far. They didn't go outside. But my grandparents and my mom and them are from Ackworth. So it allowed me to travel. And then my dad's side of the family is from Marietta. So that's how I was able to interact and see other things and be exposed to different things. My grandmother worked at Rich's. So we were exposed to, when people kept saying, well, I got my dresses, my Easter dresses from Kessler. Well, I didn't never want to tell people, but my Easter dresses came from Rich's because my grandmother wanted us to have all this crinoline up under. And honey, we got the ruffles, about 3 stacks of ruffles going up our socks. But she always wanted to buy our Easter dresses, and that she would get them from work. So, but don't get me wrong. Now, we did shop at Kessler, but just not on Easter. Like, I had a real Rich's Easter dress. But I appreciate them for that, because being exposed allowed me to see outside of Bankhead.
Yeah. And as you were talking, I was thinking about this in terms of generations under us, and even for people who have kids right now. like certain things you don't realize you appreciate about your family until you get older.
Yes.
And so that's another thing where as you get older and are exposed to more and have more, not comparison, but more perspectives to
Mm-hmm.
kind of look at, it's especially interesting cultivating, because we talking about that, a relationship with your parents and family and elders as an adult woman,
Yes.
and how that's so different in today's age, while also raising your own children. So like
Yeah.
we're that sandwich generation where we have kids but we also have parents,
Parents. Yeah.
and that's a lot.
Yeah, because they are the senior citizens now.
Or knocking on the door.
Or
Don't get mad, mama.
I mean, listen,
Yeah.
the pastor said 55 and older.
Okay, so
So if we 45, 46, if I know y'all didn't have us at 10.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
the pastor said today the golden years was 55 and older.
Yeah.
So I mean, we knocking on the 55 and older crew.
Yes.
We knocking on that.
We not knocking on
Oh
that
well,
yet.
okay, we're not knocking on that yet.
But that's a whole in terms of boundaries, right? Because if you were raised to respect your parents and elders a certain way, but you grew up in a generation and you've raised your kids a little bit differently while still having some of those fundamental values, it's like you
Yeah.
got to learn how to switch hats and switch rules, and not everybody in families can fly with that. So if you make a decision that's not a decision that your brother or sister or mama or daddy or grandma or auntie and them would make in 2022,
Yeah. Yeah.
they looking at you like,
Yeah. So those big decisions, that opening your mind to this world being different, is really hard for the older generation. And you said we are the sandwich generation. So we still have this mindset that we were taught.
mm-hmm,
We have this mindset that we have cultivated for ourselves.
mm-hmm,
And now we have this mindset of these children that are coming up.
yeah,
And we're sitting here like, okay, so how do we be open, and how do we keep out, what was right? Well,
yes,
was that wrong? Wait a minute.
yeah,
How do we do this? And me, y'all, I've just decided to be open with truly what the Bible said is just love. If you love it, I love it. If it ain't hurting or killing you, I love it. And if it ain't hurting and killing me, let's just put it there. If it ain't hurting and killing me, I love it. Like I'm really learning to accept people for who they are, for how they are, for even before I could see me telling Shay, girl, it is not that serious.
mm-hmm.
Come on out. The world is not that bad. I've been open since May 2020. Like, it is not, I could have been that person. But I was sensitive, or had empathy, as the pastor said today,
Yeah.
about her
Another good
feelings.
therapy word, by the way.
Yes. I learned apathy, sympathy, and empathy today in church today. You would have loved the service.
Right,
Yes, he really talked about that. So, so let me break it down how he said apathy is, girl, like, we don't even know what you're talking about. It is not that serious. Sympathy is, oh, I understand. I get it. Empathy is what I did today. It said, I'm not going to let anybody else in. I'm going to have her here so she can be comfortable.
Yeah. And that's so tough in families because, like I said before, families, um, and because sometimes you don't know any other way, right?
That's it.
It's so easy to focus on fault and blame, but finding that balance of I'm gonna speak on my truth and what works for me, and I might choose to share my perspective with you that's different, but I'm gonna say it still from a place of love and not shaming and judging you to the point where it's going to compromise our relationship. Because the part people want to gripe about afterwards is, oh, well, they ignoring my call, or I ain't heard from them, or they acting funny around me. Well, if you think about the things that's connected to that, and everybody's part in that, and it's what you said too about how it's not just about setting boundaries is not just about waiting for the other person to change. It's sometimes about changing how you operate, because just as you talk about how this person always does this and always does that, well, what's your part in that in terms of what you allow or what you accept or what you don't speak on when you know that it bothers you?
Being an enabler.
Absolutely. Ooh.
That right there is that person who complains about this person ain't gonna never do nothing. This person was always this and this person. And my question is, well, what is your role in this person always doing that? Yeah. Because once I found myself saying, oh, honey, he gone, or they gone, or she gone, I'm like, let me eliminate that. Yeah. How do I eliminate that? By saying, I'm just not going to enable you anymore. Yeah. So if you call and ask me for $20, either I have it and I'm going to give it to you and keep it moving, or I don't have it. Mm-hmm.
Like, and guess what? I can still love you.
I can still love you.
And choose not to give it.
And
for my own reasons.
Say that.
I can still love you and choose not to give it for my own reasons. And it's on you if you want to translate that into I don't love you or I don't have your back. Let me show you how I can love you.
Shay, that is deep. That goes really deep, because people will take that even in family, mainly in family. Mm-hmm. Let me say that, and I'm gonna stick here on family. Mm-hmm. Family would take, if you don't help them in a situation
the way they want to be
helped, you can't love them, or you can't be for them, or you against them, or you ain't never wanted to, you always trying to keep me down, or you did for somebody else, or you didn't, all because you made a decision to not continue to be an enabler. Mm-hmm. Or not to agree with what they want. Mm-hmm. You made a decision to love them the way you wanted to love them. Yeah. Yeah. So it goes back to your attitude determines your experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you set boundaries,
yes,
especially in families, you don't have to hold yourself responsible for how the other person reacts to that if you know that it's a healthy decision for you. And that's a tough pill to swallow.
I tried to swallow it just then. Almost choked.
And look, I'm preaching to myself as much as I'm talking to you, because that, I mean, it's tough. It's tough when you have a certain picture of love and loyalty in families, and when and if something changes along the lines, or if one family member does this and another family member does that, and other family members, because we're going to talk about the bystanders and the naysayers as well. Mm-hmm. Like that ripple effect in families, when you choose to do something that somebody doesn't, or when you don't choose to do something that somebody else doesn't, and then now it's a whole family conversation.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick one to you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Honor thy mother and thy father. And I say that because I was talking to a trainer one day, and he said he did not have a great relationship with his mother. And I'm like, wow, it's a lot of people who have, all moms want good moms. Mm-hmm. Now, first of all, let me give a disclaimer. I am not talking about my mama.
Right.
I am not talking about my mother. My mother was an amazing mother. I mean, we definitely have our bumps in the road as mother and daughter, but that's not who I'm talking about. I'm literally talking about some mothers were not there for their kids.
And fathers
some fathers were not there for their kids. And to turn this thing around as adults, and now maybe the father or the mother has gotten themselves together, and now there's a desire to have this mother daughter, father son,
Yeah.
father daughter relationship, whatever it is. And it's that honor thy mother and thy father is like what keeps coming around. And you know who I think about? I read her story, Joyce Myers. Mm. Have you ever heard her story? Mm-hmm. So Joyce Myers talks about how her father molested her as a kid. And as she became an adult, her father became very ill. Mm-hmm. And, you know, she was a pastor and she stood in the pulpit and she preached and she had to take care of her father in his dying days. Mm-hmm. And she talks about how God put that in front of her to see if she was true to his word, if she could love and honor thy father and thy mother. And that's a hard pill.
It is. And
to swallow.
I've been in that situation helping clients who you know, just working in medical family therapy for a while, and mm-hmm. people have had to become caregivers for their parents who were either, you know, abusive or neglectful, or just really not there and had different things, and that was always a heavy decision in terms of, okay, do I bring them in my home? Do we choose another family's home? Do we pay for a caregiver? Do we find a facility? And that's a whole nother conversation, because in our families, we, you know,
we
don't
like,
nobody put me in that place, but some, you know, in a home, but some families really have to make that decision. And that's the best decision they can come up with for various reasons, because of their own health issues, because of their own stress level, because of their own marital and needs.
And let me say this. The one who always talk about don't put mama or daddy in a hole is the one who ain't got a pot to piss in or where to throw it out of. Ain't been around to help do nothing. It's always that one that'll never, ain't never around. But now you don't want to put mama in a home and daddy in a home. But when people still have careers, it was a young lady who was at one of our events when I was traveling with the color team. And she was just so torn between putting her mother in a home and, you know, like how she's going to finish working. And she said someone broke it down to her and said, you're doing the best thing for her so that she can have better care, because you can't provide that. You are not the professional. That's not your job. Now, how often you see them, the facility that they're in, that all plays a part. Yeah. But you'll lose your mind too if you're around somebody that you got to take care of every day.
And you're not equipped. And I've unfortunately seen that a lot, where people, out of their definition of love and loyalty and dedication, are taking care of somebody, and they put their own health reasons, their own health needs on the back burner. Mm-hmm. And they have medical problems, mental health problems, things get neglected. You know, now if you have the beauty of multiple family members and you can figure out a way to tag team,
right,
for in-home care, that's a whole nother situation. But I think there's such a stigma with you know, our community in terms of when we need to make that difficult decision, and it goes back to that, you know, it's all again related to love, boundaries, loyalty, trust, and your, you know, how are you defining honor?
Yes, how are you defining honor? Because that honor can be shifted to resentment if I have to take care of you, or I can't complete what I need to do in life or my journey, because now I'm halted to take care of you. And you know, it's a balance. I think with that, it is definitely a balance. It's a conversation to have with the family, but it's a. I think we have to be more open. I talk about families and traditions a lot. Mm-hmm. And you know, I'm big on breaking traditions, because a lot of people don't even know why the traditions are in place. It's a little story. I don't know where I've heard it. I've heard it plenty of times that a mother was cooking Thanksgiving dinner. and she had the turkey, and she cut the wings off, the legs off, or something. She did that, and the little girl, her little girl, said, "Mom, why do you do that?" She said, "Baby, it's our tradition. This is what Grandma been doing for years. This is how we do our turkey, and this is what we gonna do, and this is how we do it every year." So she said, "Well, I wonder why." She said, "Well, you should ask Grandma when Grandma comes." So Grandma came later on the day for dinner, and the little girl, "Grandma, why you cut the wings off the turkey?" She said, "Baby, we never had a pan big enough." Now here we are keeping up a tradition.
Yeah. And it served a purpose at
that time.
Yeah, that's a woo.
Right. So traditions sometimes serve the purpose during that time. We need to reevaluate some of the traditions and start making our own traditions.
Yeah, and listen, you talking to somebody who is the tradition of, you know, I uphold traditions, I value traditions, I appreciate traditions, and at the same time, I have to reevaluate what works best for me and my household and family at the time. And that's not, again, going back to one of our main messages, that's not being disrespectful.
Right.
That's not a lack of loyalty, a lack of love, or a lack of appreciation and gratitude. It's figuring out what works best and have, honoring values and what makes sense at that moment. So,
Yeah. I mean, even if people watch Power, Tommy, the new one. I don't know if you watch Power with Tommy. So
and you made me think of something, so I want to come back
Tommy
to
is on the show where, what's the name of the family?
that. It's Ghost and Power, and what's the new one?
It's Tommy's thing. What is he?
Somebody type it.
Yeah, somebody say something. It's something, whatever it is. But there's a family on the Tommy show.
Yeah.
That
You done called it the Tommy show?
Yeah, the Tommy show. The one with Tommy on it. That their traditions, there's loyalty. Like it's straight loyalty, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
And one of the sons is in love with a black woman that he knows could never be his wife in his father's eyes.
Yeah.
And he is willing to run away with this young lady. But the dad is so caught up on loyalty, he's having the young lady killed.
Yep. Yeah.
And lied to the son as if somebody else did it. So when the son finally finds out, there's this whole distrust of loyalty that is created just because of a tradition that we can't date outside of our race.
Yeah.
Now, is dad breaking the loyalty or is the son breaking the loyalty? Like, loyalty just means I can still be committed to you, Dad, but I'm in love with this woman.
It can be both. And I'm going to say something that's not real popular and may not be well received. A lot of people, when you break it down in terms of families and how, like, the ripple effect when people don't make the same decisions, a lot of people run their families like the mafia, like the mob. And it's like, if you don't agree with me, that is like the ultimate disrespect, and you might be excommunicated. And now ain't nobody going around chopping off heads, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know, but let's sip tea.
But in terms of the gut punch of that for families, it's big. There's a word in family therapy called differentiation. And it is when, again, you have a sense of, you can be an individual and be comfortable in your family at the same time. And so a lot of people struggle with that. They feel like they can't be themselves around their family without judgment, without ridicule, without feeling out of place. And so that is a relational thing, right? It's not just on the person to learn how to feel comfortable, but it involves multiple family members. And that, that's hard.
Yeah, that is hard. And it's crazy because I didn't experience the pressure of traditions. I never experienced it. I told you what I experienced. You ain't gonna do nothing. You ain't gonna be nothing like that was my experience. It was never okay, so everybody went to college and this is what we need. That wasn't my story. I think I had maybe one or two aunts that went to college. They all worked. Like I didn't see this big. You have to have this education to be great.
You have to meet their expectations in terms of a certain person.
So we didn't have that. Traditions. Um, yeah, we gonna cook chitlins on Thanksgiving. Like we really had. You had to have coleslaw and pinto beans with it. Like and make sure you had hot sauce. Or we really, I'm really trying to think of any traditions that we had. Oh, my grandmother on my father's side, you could not play cards on Sunday in her house. Like it was put the cards up. I don't know what that big thing was. We play them on Saturday night all night.
That's a way to like honor the Sabbath.
Yeah,
like certain people don't drink on Sundays, and certain people don't do certain work on Sundays.
Yeah,
that was another example of that.
So as a kid, I didn't get that. Yeah. I was just wondering why we can't play cards on Sunday. I was just like, oh, we can't play cards on Sunday. So I got that was probably the most traditional thing that that we did in the family. No, I didn't. I don't remember anything big like that. But yeah, it's I love the fact that we can have a conversation about the different dynamics of family.
Yeah.
And
without taking offense.
Without taking offense. Without saying, well, my family was better because we did this and I had my mom and dad in my house. And you can see through our conversation that what you think about somebody else, they're thinking about you. They're liking what you dislike.
That's right.
And vice versa.
And I tell I'm gonna take a little sidebar, but
Go ahead.
I think this is important from a therapeutic perspective. The same thing happens, and I talk about this in therapy and with family and friends. Like, just like the single person might be yearning to be married and want a partner, the married person might be looking at the single people like, ooh, I wish I had that kind of freedom and that, like, and so every opposite has a different perspective that you may not always think about. And that's why I like how, because you kind of switched the name on this. I think when I first said something, I was like, something about boundaries, and you added cultivating. And I think that word is so fitting because now I don't have a green thumb, but I'm learning. But like you have to tend to your relationships like a garden. You might have to do some pruning.
And
but
some things are seasonal.
And some things are seasonal. Woo!
Yes.
You got to water it and get your, like cultivating and people don't always think about that opportunity with families. And I'm saying it like that on purpose. We spend a lot of energy on cultivating friendships and cultivating romantic partners, but everybody can always attempt to cultivate
the family,
a new kind of family relationship. And I think people forget about that.
That's a good way to kind of, we got a couple of more minutes to go out the door with that, is cultivating that relationship with family, making new traditions, being open, listen instead of always giving your opinion. What did the golden years, it's a group at the church, it was their anniversary, the golden years, and they said they were never too old to learn, and ageless is, oh my God, what was the word? Dang, I'm mad that I missed it, because it was like ageless doesn't mean I'm closed in. I don't have to not be open to something new.
Yeah.
Just like the older you get and you're learning these cell phones, it's not the rotary phone anymore. It's not the rotary. And the more the cell phones advance, the more the older people have to advance in the cell phone. So as easy as you are able to learn this, or don't get me wrong, you got something. Now, if it ain't a flip phone, I don't want it, because but the flip phones don't work no more, Grandma. Auntie, you have to learn how to adjust. And just like the sandwich generation,
Uh-huh.
we are learning how to cultivate the relationship with our elders and still be respectful, but also saying no
Mm-hmm.
with love
Mm-hmm.
and listening with an open ear and an open mindset with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids, let me say something to the generation of the millennials and Generation Z. Is
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
who they are? You all too need to learn how to listen and not just hear the words that are coming out of people's mouth. Because you have to remember, yeah, I get it. We've been here and we've been doing some of the same things, and it's 2022 and somebody still just shot up some black people. I get it. I get it. Nope, nope, all our ways didn't work. But some of our ways have got us to the point where we are. And one is consistency in a career, in something, being consistent. Um, I need young people to really understand that, because even if you're going to have your own business, because everybody now wants to be an entrepreneur, if you cannot go to that job or that workplace or that internship and learn how to be committed and listen in your own business, you're going to see yourself going around and around in a circle. Like I heard a guy say the other day, a lot of these new businesses that came up during the pandemic, they great right now, but you haven't gone through the fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
You haven't gone to the fall, the falling of it.
And it's
Yes,
that character building.
it's that character building.
Character building. I did something. I took a year in between my bachelor's and my master's because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And it was a big sacrifice because it was essentially like a full-time job for not a lot of money. But it was one of the best decisions I made because of what I learned. Hands-on Atlanta AmeriCorps, for anybody who's familiar with that
Yeah, I remember that.
1-year program. And just you learn so much about consistency, about humility, about roles and responsibilities, about dedication, and all of that. And so, yeah, that's another perfect example of learning how to be innovative, but also value some of the traditional values that still ring true.
Yes, yes, definitely. So I
You want
am.
me to close out with some of the quick other healthy
Yes,
stuff?
yes. So
Okay.
I'm going to let Shay talk about some of the professional terminologies for cultivating a healthy family relationship.
Yeah, so I the article that I sent Crystal is one. It is built upon an old reference or resource that I don't have to get into, but this particular article talks about 8 qualities of healthy families, and so as you think about the kind of boundaries that you want to set and the kind of cultivating that you might want to do, really kind of take some personal reflection. I think when we hear things, sometimes one of the first things we do is we think about the other
Somebody else.
person.
You always think about somebody else first.
Yes.
And now I've learned to, is that me?
Right. So I'm going to throw these out. Healthy families are committed to each other's growth and development. Healthy families spend quality time together. Healthy families, I said this one already, enjoy open, frequent communication. Healthy families know how to turn towards each other during a crisis. And I hope that's what some of us have learned during the pandemic.
Ooh, yes.
Healthy families know how to express affirmation and encouragement. You want me to say that one again?
Real loud for the people in the back.
All right. Healthy families know how to express affirmation and encouragement, not judgment and blame and critique and criticism all the time.
Job well done. I'm
Yes.
proud of you.
Healthy families have a spiritual commitment. Healthy families have a certain trust that is built on mutual respect. And the last one, healthy families know how to give each other freedom and grace. Come on. That one.
That freedom and grace. Learn how to give people grace.
And give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. You don't have to be
Grace.
everything to everybody.
How about that?
Yeah.
Give yourself grace. Lord, whew, thank you for this moment.
Yes.
That's what I say.
Yes.
Yes. So we're going to post the link to that article on the page.
As
Y'all,
well as some resources.
we really, and some resources also. We really appreciate y'all tuning in for the last 2 Sundays. It has been such an honor to have one of my best friends here, like to be able to have this real conversation. And I want to be able to do more of this. Like we talk about the next biggest one, it's probably going to be relationships. I think I want to do something a little different with that kind of co-ed event of those kind of relationships. But we'll see because next week is Memorial Day weekend and I'm taking off.
Good for you.
But June, I think the next one is June 5th. I think I had to switch a guest. I'm not sure if I have a guest for that one, but I'll make something happen if I feel like it. But on the 12th, y'all, I need y'all to really tune in because this one is talking about adoptions. It's talking about adoption.
Nice.
And I don't know if anybody knows anything about adoptions, but I actually have a guest that's coming on that was adopted and found her birth parents. And it's been a real interesting story of her meeting her birth parents. So that's what it is. She was supposed to come on June 5th. Her birth parents are going to meet her adopted parents on June 5th. So
she's going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, so she's going to have quite a bit to talk about. I'm going to reach out to another guest who I know that just went through this adoption process. So maybe I can kind of finagle something by June 5th to see if they can come on and talk about that process. But, I'm so grateful that God has given me the gift to be able to openly just talk. Because people ask me sometimes, do you have a script? As y'all see, y'all, we didn't have a script. We don't, we were just really having conversations that people like to have. And I'm grateful that I was put in this position, but I also know that this is not just for me. I know that I'm a vessel and I know I'm used a lot by God. So if any of these messages really help you and motivate you or encourage you or inspire you, please, y'all, share, follow my Instagram, follow my YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, follow my Instagram. I'm really going to take this to another level. I don't know how far it's going to go, but I know he has me going somewhere with this and with amazing people and guests like I have, like Dr. Shatavia Thomas. I can't go but go higher from here. I'm so excited. So I just want to say thank you so much again for joining. Thank you all so much for joining. I appreciate you. I am coming up on the end of 6 months, well, going to the beginning of 6 months, and I'm so excited that I was able to keep this going. And I'm proud of myself. So y'all give me a round of applause. Yay!
Yes.
So thank y'all so much for tuning in. Next week, I will be here. Enjoy your Memorial Day. I'm out.
Bye. Get you a therapist.
Get it straight from the chair. We ain't just talking about it.